Hello, everybody. So, welcome to DCI Fight Week. This is the first Fight Week installment, and the reason why it says Fight Week number 1 is because we're going to have multiple types of Fight Weeks. There's rumored to be a BOA Fight Week eventually. Yeah, that's... sorry, I have a cold. But yeah, today's Gavin Sunday. They're silly names, but it's my day to go over my four top shows that we're going to do in this little tournament of 28 shows. So the shows I have today are Tilt, Bluecoats 2014, Goliath, Boston Crusaders 19th, Inferno, Carolina Crown 2015, and Blue Devils 2017, Metamorph. So these are some, bomb shows, and I already see Isaac getting excited. So if we want to start by talking about Tilt, I'll say my views on Tilt because it's one of my favorite shows. They tilted the whole field. They got this giant outline of the field in orange and just tilted it. And then they have all the props that just, they lift up and it would tilt the tenor drums. And their carry was all at a tilt. They just epitomized that theme and they performed it at a high level. And it's also one of my favorite drum corps intros. Like the Drum Corps International is proud to present. And it's like the Bluecoats. And then it goes into the da-da. And yes, Owen, you look like you have your hands raised. So, if anyone else wants to comment about Tilt and just talk about Tilt for a couple minutes, we might as well. Who wants?
I want to say that Tilt's probably going to be forever iconic because no matter what, it's probably got the most recognizable drum break in the world. All you got to play is the da 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 da, and then people just know it instantly, and they'll try to play it along with you, and it'll be really dirty. But it's just iconic like that because it's just such a great drum break. Like sometimes I'll just listen to the percussion recordings alone because it's just beautiful. And I honestly think, in my opinion, because I didn't always used to like Tilt, but it grew on me, and I honestly think now that it's one of the best closers in DCI ever.
It just has a great effect. Like the ending of that show is just like you start the show and you're waiting for like that epitome, and at the end it sort of just relutes the show, and it's a great ending.
Yeah.
Is this remind me? I'm drawing a blank here. Is this wasn't this like the last year that the Bluecoats had their helmets instead of like Shakos and everything?
It was one of them, but 2015 was the official last year.
No, 2015 they had it.
No, I'm saying that was their last year.
I remember seeing the show, and I love the props. The props are super cool. I mean, it's just the whole idea is just pretty bomb. But I do remember the helmets, like the helmets. That's somewhat what sticks out to me in like old drum corps where you have like the helmets instead of Shakos.
In 2015, they kept that uniform, but that was their last year of doing it. And then 2016, they went to their tights. And that's sort of what they're known for now, is their sequence tights or their suits that they wear now. But like Tilt, and I know Isaac's very eager to jump in on this now, but when David Glasgow had that brass line and just that ensemble, they performed it so well, and even though it seemed like a silly concept, it worked just like they did Downside Up. And we'll talk about that later on when it's Owen's turn, but Downside Up had a simple concept and they performed it well, just like Tilt. And that's sort of the same thing with Kinetic Noise when we get to it. They just have these great themes, and Tilt was one of those amazing themes. And I'm going to let Isaac go off about it because I know it's one of his favorite shows too.
Yes! So this show is probably my favorite Bluecoats show that they have ever done. Growing up, obviously, I was a very big Spirit, Crown, Santa Clara fan of, the older corps type stuff. But then going into kind of watching GCI for myself, I really loved Tilt, and that was one of my favorite shows. I think the music, I think concept, I think the guard work, I think all of it just really came together and portrayed such a great concept for a show theme. And it really just worked well all across the board, with the whole field being tilted and then the viewpoint being different, just kind of bringing something new to the table that we haven't seen in a very long time. I think that was very innovative, and then that kind of brought the idea of, instead of having a story, it's more of a concept of it, and just going through that through the show.
Yeah, like that year, they also just had a great, they were passionate about that theme, even though it's a simple thing, but they just lived it. They lived that theme, and like imagine trying to perform in that show and say, okay, so this is my dot, but that's the front of the field. Oh no, wait, no, that's the front of the field, and you're looking at this giant diagonal going across the normal football field, and then have to be the person who jumps at the end of the show into the group of performers. Was that one of the first drum corps, if anyone knows the answer, was that one of the first like shows to use like the pitch bend at the end?
I believe so, yeah, because this is when electronics started to get really, really big. It was in like this 2014, 2010 type time.
Yeah, like that show, how they like started and they were like across the field, and then they came to the front and they went into like a tilt. They went to the ground in like a push-up form, and then having to grab their horns. And then they marched with it and carry at a tilted angle, and then had to snap it up into that hit. Like I'm gonna ask you guys what you felt about the music in that show, and like just like the opener specifically. Like it seemed bland to people, but it had a great effect. So does anyone want to comment on like the opener for that show?
Well, yeah, it was the first Bluecoats show I ever watched, so it like seemed really abstract to me. But again, and that's why I didn't like it at first. But like either way, the opening hit like still hits. It's not even very powerful, but it just hits for some reason, and it's just like I don't know. It definitely gets in a way. It definitely gets that tilt kind of concept in your head. Like if you could spell tilt out with music, that's what it would sound like.
Yeah, I would agree. You can go on ahead, Isaac.
All right, cool. For me, like you said, I think the reason why it's so kind of like profound is because the intensity and the airspeed that they use on each note. You know, da 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 da. You know, they're really driving the air and they're using their tongue to their advantage. I think that, and then going through the whole show, they still have a really powerful brass line. Even during and like a very intense feel to the music, even if they are very soft, their ballad is probably one of my favorite ballads in DCI. It's very moving. It's very there's melodic lines. There's counterbalancing with the tubas and the baritones, kind of bringing this like really warm feeling throughout the whole show. And then obviously they tilt the props when they get to the hit, and then not only is there one, but there's two hits ballad that just keep climaxing, and it's really, really cool to hear.
Yeah. How about Owen and Jaelyn? You guys didn't have any views on Tilt?
Yeah. I mean, I really love the show. I especially dig the ballad. Hymn of Axion is always a piece that I've absolutely loved. Just not even just in a drum corps setting, but the original composition. Just there's such power behind those chords, and there's emotion too that you can feel in the composition, and that's something that I really love when listening to music. And of course, drum corps being drum corps, they just do a phenomenal embodiment of all of that emotion in the piece. So I really love the ballad, especially something with the guard work, how they had like those right angle orange pieces. I'm not exactly sure what you would call them, but using those and being able to do body work and visual stuff with that, I really love the creativity that they put out there. Taking something that usually wouldn't be in guard. Usually you just have your various types of flags, you have rifle and you have saber, and that's generally it. Maybe they do work, but you have this object and you're, okay, well, what is that? But then you give it to the guard members and they do something completely different with it. And I just love that originality and creativity they put into the show.
Yeah. Jaelyn, what about you?
I just love the concept of it and the whole idea. It is very well known, especially for what Miles was saying, battery-wise, because I do know all of my battery friends love to pick it up, play it every time they hear it. So it's just a really cool show, and I love Bluecoats.
Okay, so we're going to now alter into my next show. My second favorite show on my list is Goliath, Boston Crusaders. We did that last week for DCI Friday. So Goliath, it's about David and Goliath. It's a great show theme. They performed it at a high level. They had amazing costumes with the chains and people would call it like the drip that for their the chains on the side of their uniforms, and then they also had the herald trumpets and the trombone feature, which was just a great thing, and the use of the props and how in like Indy how they killed Goliath and how David, the color guard member, did it. It was just a cool and overall theme, and they used Hamilton. Great show, one of my favorite shows just to listen to, and I get always into the middle of the show when it's like, I'm not throwing away my shot. It's my favorite part. It's just a great part to listen to, and now I'll hand it off to anyone else who wants to join in the conversation.
All right, so yes, I do love Goliath. That was a pretty cool show to see at Worlds this past year. I really like the uniforms. I mean, I think the uniforms are cool. The theme is pretty cool too. They were actually surprisingly visually more they were like more clean than usual for Crusaders. At least in my opinion.
Oh, I would agree. I think SOS, they had the hardest drill book, so there might have been some issues there. But I think that year for 2019, like the visual staff definitely kicked it in.
Yeah. Joey Weaver. Their guard is crazy. Guard was outstanding. I did say this last week. I don't really like musicals. I know, hate me all you want. But I do love the My Shot section of the My Shot section of the show. I think that's just cool, and that's the one song you'll get me to listen to from a musical, solely because a drum corps played it.
Owen, you were.
Although I guess if we want to call The Greatest Showman a musical, I don't even know. I guess we could say A Million Dreams on that same base that Hebron played it this past year, but
yeah,
I don't know. That's a debate for another time.
I
BOA week.
Yeah, I don't get to watch musicals that much because they're expensive. I think I've only watched Wicked live. I'm pretty sure
that's true.
I've watched live, but I know Owen was off mute, so I'm pretty sure he wanted to comment. So you can go on ahead, Owen.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I remember watching the show, I'm not exactly sure what showing it was, but the samples were just not working with the rest of the ensemble. And so I had this really bad impression of the show. And even I saw it at I saw the live stream in theaters of all of the top 12 world cores at finals, but I don't know, maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention, or in my mind I was like, oh, well, it was bad that one time, so it's just going to be bad again. But then I went back about a month or two ago, and I listened to the show again, one of the better runs, and I'm like, that was really good. And so the show alone, I've always said that the show alone was it's just fantastic, execution-wise, composition-wise, the energy that they're giving off. It's just really great. Mm-hmm. But then once you actually get to hear those samples being put in, it really just sews everything together in the best way possible.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of shows that can pull off that tell a story and that can pull it off well. Because oftentimes you get a show that tries to tell a story and then you're kind of confused as to what it is. But with something that's such a story with David and Goliath, it's not really that hard to mess that up. But then the Crusaders they do it so well, and you get everything from the Hamilton samples to when that color guard member finally kills the Goliath character. It's just everything flows so well together.
Mitchell.
I will interject here. I completely forgot about this part, but I love Rocky, and I love the soundtrack from Rocky. That is one of my all-time favorite movie series. So them playing Rocky, Gonna Fly Now, and stuff like that, that was cool.
So
I did completely forget about that portion of the show. I knew it was there, but I didn't recognize it as Rocky because just everything was going so well. In my head, I wasn't like, oh yeah, that's the Rocky theme. But then you think about it and it's like, oh yeah, I mean it is. Yeah. And I mean, that just might be because the effect of everything is just hitting you all at once. And it's just like, there's so many things going on that you're just not like, oh, that's a classic theme that everyone recognizes.
Yeah.
So, there's obviously like a biblical story, David and Goliath. So, Isaac, I know, you go to church with me. So, for biblical stories, how do you think Goliath told it? Like, do you think it was, like, well done?
I think so. For me, I liked how they kind of did a spin-off. Obviously, it wasn't the exact story, but it wasn't the exact, it wasn't completely off. I think it was really smart that they took on that kind of approach and that story. I think they did it in a very innovative way. I kind of liked how they did at the end. They had the cutting of the head and all that stuff. I think that was really cool. It brings me back to like old Phantom stuff and when Spartacus and all that stuff. So that was really cool. And then like old Spirit when if the drum major decided if they were live or die and all that stuff. So I thought that was really cool. I really liked how they kind of used the same type of like storyline and they kind of used it through the not MP3 but the sounds, and they used kind of the storyline and they told the storyline, but they also told it through the music as well. I thought that was really smart how they did that too.
You guys are making me very proud because I'm a Boston Crusader. You make me happy. So Miles, what about you, man?
So as Mitchell said before, this is what I'm mostly going to focus on. The visual stuff is absolutely amazing. There were probably like only 2 visual inconsistencies I saw throughout the whole show, and that's when I was actually looking for them. The guard, I can't stress this enough, is just absolutely spectacular. It's just amazing. Like everything they do just gets better. They just one up the thing that they did before, and I don't know. Like I don't know how they do that. It's just crazy. Their guard is too good.
Boston.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And Boston color guard is godly. I'm just gonna say, like, we never got to audition our guard this last year, which sucks, and so they all have to wait till next year, even if they have a callback. But yeah, I guess since Jaelyn, have you watched this show, or have you?
Yeah.
You have?
I've seen it. Yeah. Amazing, right? No, I wanted to say something about their props. I thought they're crazy cool, like the big boards where they can like add dimension, and they're again like their costumes and outfits to add to the storyline. I really loved. It's really cool.
The drip chains.
Yeah.
As Owen put them once. The drip.
Nice.
I guess we'll move on from Goliath. So my third show. This is a show that everybody I think in this call should love. Blue Devils 2017 Metamorph. Such a great show. They had Shine Bright Like a Diamond. They had the whole entire mellophone line go on the trumpets for a trumpet feature. They had Flight of the Bumblebee, which is crazy to think a drum corps would play that. And then have like the tenors go through the block.
Triumph of Time.
Huh?
Triumph of Time. Triumph of Time.
Oh yeah, Triumph of Time as well. Oh man. Oh. Okay, so I'm gonna leave my comments for like what other people say. So whoever wants to start about Metamorph, go on ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead. First of all, I'm just gonna go in chronological order of the show. First of all, they start out with 16 snares, which is basically their whole battery on snares, and it's just straight up stupid clean. Like it's amazing how clean they can be with 16 snares, especially since traditional grip at a drum corps level is very hard, and they all executed it like beautifully. It was so amazing. Second of all, I love how their whole battery for the opener, their whole battery doesn't actually play on their designated instruments until the last phrase of the opener, and it's an incredibly hard phrase, but it just absolutely throws down. And then there's Triumph of Time, which they absolutely nailed.
Yes.
The pit playing the runs from Triumph of Time. I've seen multiple videos of it, and I've never seen them do a dirty run of it. They nailed that run every single time. It was absolutely beautiful. And the way they transitioned that into Flight of the Bumblebee, it's just genius. The whole entire opener is genius, and it's beautiful. And let's see, the closer. It's probably my favorite drum break ever. It's one of the hypest things ever. Like, you just even watching them play it without sound is just amazing. It's absolutely beautiful, that drum break. And then, of course, the trumpet feature with the mellophones going to play trumpet, also beautiful. Like, it's all just beautiful. And then I also think that this is one of the greatest closers of all time, because it just is. Like, yeah,
I get it, man.
It's hard to put it into words
Exactly.
how good of a show it is.
Exactly, because honestly, that was one of the main shows, because BOA and DCI are political at times, and I think that's one of the shows that I truly think deserved to win because of how good it was, and just like the sound files about how they were going to like old Blue Devils and they just march out, and then the snares. It was just a great concept, and then the Shine Bright Like a Diamond just nailed it even farther. Mitchell, you're waving your hand crazy. Go on ahead.
Yes. So I did say Triumph of Time, one of my all-time favorite pieces for marching men to play. Specifically, I mean, BOA, Hebron High School played it this past year, and then Blue Devils obviously in 2017. But that was just crazy. Oh my gosh. Probably one of my favorite shows in DCI. I mean, we can't forget the ballad trumpet solo.
Yeah.
We can't forget that.
Do you want to play it for us?
I really...
I'll let you. Here, go on mute, practice it. I'm going to talk to Isaac for a second. So, Isaac, this is something specifically for you. If you remember, Madness Year, Ford had us watch Metamorph after a practice in the band room. And it was great. I'm like, oh, what are they playing? And then they played Metamorph, and I'm like, woohoo! Nice! Like...
That... Oh my gosh.
It's... Metamorph...
That show is...
Metamorph is such a moving show.
Yeah. So, for me, when I first watched the show, I knew it was going to be something spectacular, even at the start of the season. I mean, it was something we've never really heard before. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, kind of old style stuff, and then bringing innovation to it. I thought it was really, really smart how they did it. Obviously, like you said, Gavin, the beginning where they're all in the lines, and then they start marching like how they originally did in the field corps. And then obviously we bring up Triumph of Time like always. And obviously Santa Clara did the same piece as well, just a little bit of a different, like a little bit different music. I absolutely love the show. I think this is one of my favorite Blue Devil shows that they've done in a very, very long time. Again, I mean, it was just like everything was so smart that how they did it. I mean, from leading, transitioning to every single thing. From the opener to the closer, it was so smart how they did everything. I thought that chord brought so much passion into what they were doing. I mean, everything just kind of clicked for the year, and I thought it was just really, really great show, really smart stuff.
Then that year, just they killed it. Like, who did they get second in 2016 to Bluecoats, or what did they get that year?
Yeah, second.
Second.
So they went from like getting that second place and like, okay, well, we need to step up our game, and they stepped their game up, and it was a great show. So I know Jaelyn just like refreshed her mind and listened to it. So Jaelyn, give us your opinion.
Well, it kind of made me realize why Mitchell and Isaac are Blue Devils fans, because
don't switch your side now. You can't switch. It's 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks ago.
I'm not switching. I understand. Yeah, that's insane. Playing the flight of the Bumblebee in a show, I can't even imagine that. We have listened to that song during band, just like in awe of it multiple times, and to hear that in a marching band show is insane. And the drum set during the ballad and the front ensemble, it's crazy. I loved it.
Yeah. What about you, Owen?
I mean, yeah, it's an amazing, I don't want to say best show of all time, because I don't think I've listened to enough shows to be able to say that, but it's one of the best shows that's out there. And I mean, just everything from the cleanness of all of those snares at the beginning of the show to the power that they have in the ballad and the energy with the flight of the bumblebee. I mean, personally, my favorite part of the show would either have to be the ballad or the trombone feature, because that's just, I don't know. There's something about just the melodic composition of that just sticks with you. And it's not like, oh yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it is really good, but like, there's nothing crazily outstanding about it. It just sounds good. And I really like that.
So I'll give it to Isaac to say his comment, then Mitchell's going to play for us.
I totally forgot about this one thing, and I hope you guys, I'm sure you guys probably did too. The trumpet feature after the whole drum break, after the ballad, that is probably one of my favorite moments out of that year specifically, but one of my favorite moments I've ever, like, seen before. Like, it was, I absolutely love the trumpet feature. It's one of my favorite moments in DCI, like, to be honest. I mean, and not even just, like, how it was written, but the execution of it was really, really incredible. So yeah, that was a solid.
Okay, Mitchell, play for us right now.
Oh God! All right,
The whole
fine.
world will hear it.
I mean, whenever there's a lull in the rehearsal, like Carmel, like for the summer, whenever we're having like a water break or something, and during music rehearsal, there will be times where Mr. Poke just pulls out his trumpet and plays the Metamorph solo.
Okay.
Working on the pitch bends.
Okay, well, good job, Mitchell. Okay, well, we're gonna move on to the
Yay.
final show. This is my favorite Carolina Crown show. Carolina Crown 2015 Inferno. One of my favorite ballads in drum corps history. Just the use of the tarp and like the drum, like they act so well. They look like a musical group out there with instruments performing. They use it with so much artistry. They're acting so well with what they're doing, and just the whole like medieval like the dum the bum bum ba bum. Just that whole like feel of the show is amazing, and I love it so much. And then you also have that awesome intro just building up to the hit like Carolina Crown always does. But that show just stuck out to me, and that's what makes me a giant Carolina Crown fan. And I just love like their shows. And like Beast, the same thing. I love the show design and stuff like that. So now Isaac's freaking out. Go ahead, Isaac, about Inferno.
This is, okay, so I had the privilege of watching this live, and this is one of my favorite ones coming back from the marching world. One of my first shows coming back. I absolutely love this show. I mean, I really, really thought it was going to get top two, or at least top three that year. Sadly, it did not take out fourth. But this show, I mean, from the start to the finish, it was so smart how they composed it. I absolutely love the Hallelujah fanfare at the end. I love the switches from each instrument for the solos in the beginning. I thought that was really smart. Absolutely loved the ballad with the mellophone solo. And yeah. I absolutely loved the when they had that little red like cover going over the whole ensemble, and they're playing the ending of the ballad, the hit of the ballad. That was really, really incredible. I mean, their guard was on it. Everything was together. They executed everything really, really well. I mean, it was just really, everything was really precise, and I absolutely loved it. Plus, Ross Warner was the drum major at the time, and he is an amazing, amazing person. So you gotta love that too.
Yeah, like that year, anytime I hear the word Carolina Crown, it's either I think of that show, Out of This World, or Beast. One of those three shows is what I think about the most when I hear Carolina Crown. So, whoever wants to jump in on it next, Mitchell, Miles, Jaelyn.
Well, I mean, I love the use of like when the corps will chant during a show. Probably one of my favorite examples of that was Phantom 2019. They just had that point where the full ensemble, it was just all just like chanting, like that singing. It was just really cool. It was a really powerful moment. And they did a little bit of that in Inferno, and I really like that. But yeah, it's a really nice effect that you can add to a show. When it's usually just music, you have this whole other instrument, not just the horns or the drums or the keyboards, but the people themselves. And that's a really nice timbre and texture that you can get and manipulate to get a really distinct sound.
Mm-hmm. Whoever wants to go next.
I can. So I love shows that have like so much more to it, especially with the red tarp. It allowed the rest of the band to get involved with the emotion and the facial expressions, and they didn't have to just look like another marching person. They got to be a part of the color guard, which I thought was really cool and added so much more to it. And I love the dark, emotional music. It's really fun.
Miles or Mitchell?
I mean, it's a crown show, so the brass is always going to be spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that was nothing less than spectacular, as usual per crown.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Miles?
Matt Harloff does a great job.
I want to talk about the percussion, only the percussion.
Oh.
As Owen was talking about during that chanting part, they that's in the opener. They're saying "Abandon all hope, ye will enter here," and they go right into a drum feature from that. And the first thing they play is probably one of the cleanest up to that point. That's the cleanest and best snare break you would have heard Crown ever play. I feel like that's when Crown's drumline truly became the Crown drumline that we know now, because like 2017, their drumline got really weird, like the beats they played. But I really feel like that started in 2015 with the music that they did, and I just really love the percussion throughout the entire show. I feel like it was a lot different from 2014, and it was like spectacular, and the tuning was wonderful. So I just wanted to point that out. And their pit was stupid good that year, just incredibly clean. And so, I just wanted to give a shout out to the percussion.
So that's going to conclude it for Gavin Sunday. But now I have a question. So out of my top 4, which show would you put as first? If those 4 competed against each other, what show?
Probably Metamorph.
Devils.
Yes, sir.
What did Jaelyn? You said Blue Devils as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Owen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I love Tilt, I'm just going to have to put Metamorph up there because
Yeah.
it's just,
I would agree.
it was just phenomenal.
Metamorph.
They took everything that the Blue Devils are, all of that perfection, and they were just able to put it all into one show, displaying like the history with the old samples, the whole like, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I always hear Flight of the Bumblebee and I'm like, for some reason, my head goes to, like, caterpillars, like, turning into butterflies for some reason. Maybe that's just because, like, metamorphosis or something. But, like, I don't know why I do that. But just every aspect of the show is just, like, so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Metamorph is going to have to be number 1 out of year 4.
I agree. I would say Metamorph as well. Well, that will conclude it for my 4 shows. So you won't hear about those shows really until Saturday when we rank them all. But join us tomorrow for Mitchell Monday for his 4 shows, and he'll break those down for us tomorrow.